See a few more folks have just joined us. Welcome. Our presentation will be getting started in just a moment. I want to remind everyone, all attendees will be muted for the duration of the presentation. Our videos are enabled. Before we get started, one more reminder. If you have any questions for our panelists, please direct them to the chat function in Zoom. Please send your questions to Tim Watkins. He'll be monitoring the chat to direct questions for our panelists. And if you are dialing in, you can email those questions to info@gosbcta.com. I see we are right at 9:40. We're going to go ahead and begin. We're excited to hear from the SBCTA team, and with us today is the leader of that team, SBCTA President Kurt Hagman. President Hagman has served on the board for many years. Concurrently, he serves as the chairman of the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors, on the Ontario International Airport Authority, SCAG, and many other boards and committees. He's a strong supporter of innovative transportation solutions for the Inland Empire. Welcome, President Hagman. The floor is yours.
Great. Thank you for having me this morning. It's an honor to welcome you on behalf of SBCTA as we welcome you to the 2022 SBCTA State of Transportation. It is great to see so many of our industry partners logged on to hear about all the amazing projects and strategies we are involved in. Last time I checked, it was 166, so it's a great turnout. As you know, we would normally be sharing this update as part of the annual Business to Business Expo. The Expo has been a great vehicle for bringing together partners in the industry to collaborate on future SBCTA projects. The relationships developed through our annual event has resulted in millions of dollars in economic opportunity for small business contractors, subcontractors, and large primes. We are proud to be part of that success with you. However, in the abundance of caution, but still desiring to stay connected, we are conducting this year's event virtually. However, we expect to be back to full swing in next year's event. Today, you will hear from some of SBCTA staff about our capital projects, leading industry visions with emerging technologies and connectivity, our planning process for the future, and how we are trying to lead the way in providing accessibility to all our contractors and contracts. Equity is a term we hear often in today's world, and it's important considerations as we advance our transportation and infrastructure agenda. Providing access to transportation as well as transportation-related economic opportunities is the forefront with our board of directors. Staff will give you a peek at how we seek to achieve that. So I hope you enjoyed today's annual update. Please engage with the team, and thank you for being such a critical piece of our ability to make San Bernardino County just a little bit better. Leading us to the discussion today is Paula Beauchamp, SBCTA's Director of Project Delivery and Toll Program. Paula, good morning, and please take it away.
Well, thank you. I'm not sure that I have anything left to say. You've done such a great job at introducing us all. I do feel a little bit somewhat deflated. You know, I have to admit, yesterday we celebrated at SBCTA Halloween, and I was Wonder Woman. So today to only be Paula Beauchamp is, you know, a little bit of a letdown for me. But I'm so excited to see some faces that I have not seen in a couple of years. And so thank you for putting your cameras on to many of our extended colleagues and board members. And with that, you know, we do have an exciting program today. This is our third State of Transportation event. Unfortunately, we have had it virtually the last two events. And I'm hoping, I for one am hoping that our next one will be in person. And I don't know if anybody can just raise their hand and agree that they are ready for an in-person. Oh, two hands, I see two hands, more hands. Oh, thumbs up. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so good, we're all on the same page. So that's nice, that's really nice. Yes, we will be hearing about our capital project program outlook, both for roadway and for transit. And then also we'll talk about one of the important tools that we develop here at SBCTA called our 10-year delivery plan. Much effort is put into that, and it's a very useful tool not only for in-house staff, but also for those of you who are following our projects. So we'll discuss that. And then a really important issue that is hot is equity. SBCTA has always been involved in equity discussions before it became something at the forefront. So it'll be exciting to hear how SBCTA is addressing equity. And then finally, not only do we have projects and we're working on our programs and how we deliver these programs, but we'll discuss the procurement. So we'll get you some insight into our current procurement activities. So what I'd like to do is start with our leader, our staff's leader, and that is Dr. Wolf. Now, he asked me to pare down my introduction of him, and so it's no longer 5 pages and 10 minutes. But I think what I'll do is I'll let his own record stand on its own. And what I'd like to share with you is something that's probably not published. And that is the fact that Dr. Wolf has offered staff an atmosphere in which we can be creative. We can celebrate together. And, the outcome of that is that whenever we have some issues that come up, we all seem to pull in together, regardless of which department we work in. And so, I think all of the staff really appreciate, the leadership that Dr. Ray has offered to foster that SBCTA family atmosphere. And so I'm going to start with gratitude to Dr. Ray on that. And I know that there are staff members, who can clap and let him know that, we all agree that, yep, that, he's brought that to us and you see the results. And so with that, I would ask Dr. Wolf if he has any words to offer.
Thank you, Paula. Being a part of a family is important both at home and at work. It really helps to motivate people. And so I really appreciate the recognition, Paula and the team here this morning. As we move to the panel, I just want to make a couple of comments. You may have noticed that there will be some new faces on today's panel. We wanted to really showcase that there's a lot more to SBCTA than just the executive team. And so to the extent possible, we brought some new faces and I'll introduce them in just a moment. SBCTA is a team and we certainly have a solid leadership group that you all know very well. But the executive team would not be successful without the talents of the many staff and consultants that support our programs and projects. So today's panel is composed of rising stars within each department, but know that there are so many more that we could have tapped. I am really, really proud of the team that we have assembled here at SBCTA. We've accomplished so much in my nearly 10 years, 10 years here at SBCTA, but there remains so much more to realize. The panel will provide insight into the focus we have as we look to the future. I urge you to listen and ask questions to help you better understand what it is we're trying to accomplish and perhaps where you can fit in to helping us to reach our goals. In the end, what we're all trying to do here at SBCTA and in the broader group that's assembled here this morning is to improve the quality of life for the people that call San Bernardino home and live and work in our beautiful county. So with that, let me go ahead and introduce the panelists. Paula is going to be our moderator this morning. Carrie Schindler, who you all know, is going to be talking about our transit and rail programs. Henry Stoltz will step in and talk about our major projects programs. Michelle Fogerson is going to talk about the 10-year delivery plan, kind of tell you where we are in that process and what some of those priorities are. Monique Reza-Arellano is going to talk about the Council of Governments and focus a little bit on the equity conversation that we've been having this last year at SBCTA. Jeffrey Hill, you probably know him well, is our procurement manager, and he'll be talking about procurement and contracting issues. And so with that, Paula, I will hand it back to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, I think it's best that we just jump right into this. So we'll start with our capital programs. We'll look at important projects that are are in queue or that are upcoming. And with that, I'd like to invite Henry Stoltz. He is our Director of Project Delivery. He's been here almost 3 years now, and he has just such an amazing background on the multitude of projects that he's worked on, not only for government, but for private sector as well. And what I'm so impressed with is that in the midst of all of that, he not only raised a family, but now he's very involved with 11 grandchildren, 10 boys and 1 girl. So with that, I'd like Henry to discuss, all of the work that he does here at SBCTA, aside from the work he does at home.
Oh, thank you, Paula. Yes, our grandkids definitely keep us young, but it's a lot of fun. Yes, I'm going to briefly discuss our ongoing construction projects, then list our upcoming construction invitation for bids, our upcoming RFPs for construction management services, and our upcoming RFPs for design services. Currently in construction, we have 9 interchange improvement projects, 4 of which are incorporated in the I-10 Express Lanes Contract 1 project. These interchange improvement projects are at the Monte Vista, Euclid, 4th Street, and Vineyard on the I-10. Then we have the 60 Central and the 60 Archibald interchange projects under construction as well. I-10 Alabama, I-10 University, and the baseline at the 210. So a lot of interchange improvement projects ongoing. Also currently we have the 210 widening project, which is estimated to be complete for beneficial use toward the end of next year. And we have our Mount Vernon Bridge replacement project here at the BNSF Intermodal Yard, and a number of ongoing landscape projects. So soon we'll be releasing invitation for bids for construction of the 215 Bi-County Landscape Project, probably mid next year. The I-10 Cedar Interchange Project, early next year as well, invitation for bids. And then the First Street Bridge Replacement Project in Barstow, probably spring of next year. Excuse me, RFPs for construction management services. We're going to be releasing requests for proposals for construction management services for the Metrolink ATP Phase 2 project, probably December of this year. 215 University Interchange, DDI, very interesting project. Be releasing next spring, the RFP for the construction management. The I-10 truck climbing lane RFP for construction management will be released early next year. The I-10 Express Lanes project, very upcoming project. We expect to release the RFP next summer. And then the I-10 Mount Vernon interchange, probably toward the end of next year. And then request for proposals for design services. Coming up, we're going to have the I-10 Express Lane and Freight Corridor Contract 2 project. We're estimating to release the RFP for design services in the next few months. The 395 Phase 2 project, design services are estimated to be released the spring of next year. And the 210 Waterman interchange project, small project, but the RFP for design services also the spring of next year. So that's a little bit of a forecast for the upcoming year.
Wow, that's a lot, Henry. I was wondering why I've been a little bit tired lately. I guess that's part of it. So thank you. As you can hear, we've got a lot of projects coming up and underway, and they're different kinds of projects. It's fortunate that we get to enjoy that with all of you here who are on the line. But there's more, as we have my dear friend, Carrie Schindler, who has, such amazing projects, and it's just, I'm so in awe of her, a mother of 3, managing that at home, and then also running this entire program for our transit and rail. And so I'd like her to tap in and share information with you about our program.
Yeah, thank you, Paula. And some of you don't know this, but it was actually Paula who really encouraged me to apply to SBCTA 9 years ago now, I guess, about. So we had done some work together on I-10 citrus and I-10 cherry. Monique was even involved in those projects. So we have a long history of this team working together. So thank you, Paula. So we do have some exciting stuff as of the moment. You know, we're very focused on Redlands Passenger Rail and delivering that. Victor Lopez, our Deputy Director of Capital Delivery for Transit and Rail, would be with us here today, except he is meeting with the Federal Transit Administration at the moment, working on that project. So we just decided this week to provide authorization to ship our first diesel multiple unit train, which is a big milestone for us, and it'll be delivered in December. Our mainline construction is entering the testing phase, which is extremely exciting. This project has been on the books for numerous years, and to see it come to fruition is pretty exciting. So on the cusp of that project coming forward with these diesel multiple unit trains, we did secure funding to do research and development and work with Stadler US to develop the first zero emission passenger rail train, self-contained, that can run intermixed with with freight. So that project, that train, is now entering final design. We should have that completed in mid-January. And the manufacturer, Stadler, has actually produced the car shells already. And we're going through the testing of those at this moment, doing some finite analysis testing, and then doing first article of inspections. So it's progressing very quickly. And we should have that train delivered here in the fall of 2023 after it goes through several months of testing in Europe. So supporting that effort, we have what we call the Aero Maintenance Facility Upgrade Project. And there's two components to that project. One is to install hydrogen fueling infrastructure at our existing Aero Maintenance Facility site. And then we also need to do some upgrades to the facility itself to allow for the maintenance of a train that's powered by hydrogen and battery in lieu of diesel fuel. And so we do have CM construction management services coming out later this year in the next month and a half or so. And those CM services will support the oversight of both those components. So both the upgrade to the maintenance facility as well as the hydrogen fueling itself. We also have coming out slightly after that, we have a design, build, operate, maintain contract for the hydrogen fueling itself. So we are looking at someone that will come in and build a modular system that will support this prototype train, and then go into the operation and maintenance phase of that. So that includes hydrogen fuel delivery. We are citing a percentage has to be green hydrogen, and it's pretty exciting to see how that industry is changing since we envisioned this project, starting really in back to 2015, but really got going after securing grant funding in 2018. So that's about, we anticipate about a $900,000 contract. We also are working diligently to bring the West Valley Connector project into construction. Right now we are in the right-of-way phase, and there's a large number of right-of-way acquisitions for that project. And we were working with the FTA on that as well to get our full funding grant agreement for small starts grant funding that we received for that. So for the West Valley Connector, that's a 19-mile bus rapid transit line. Part of it includes about 3.5 miles of road widening along Holt. That construction management services RFP should come out in the next month or so as well. It's estimated at $10.7 million. Another piece of that project is we are going to be issuing a request for qualifications for an art in transit program to support that project and have art incorporated into the stations. The total combined budget for that portion of the project is about $500,000. So those are our procurements that are upcoming in the forefront. I do want to highlight that we are still working diligently to try to enter a contract with the boring company to do a design, build, operate, maintain contract to connect the Rancho Cucamonga station, which is the city's rebranded to Cucamonga Station, Cucamonga Station to the Ontario International Airport. So that's a lot of our focus at the moment. And that will help support the other endeavor we have going on is Brightline West coming into the county from Las Vegas to Apple Valley, and then Apple Valley down to the Cucamonga station. And so right now we're spending a lot of time working on lease agreements and station agreements, plan reviews to support that effort. And that pretty much sums it up, Paula.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad that I convinced you to come over and that you accepted that challenge. You know, as you can hear, you know, our board has such a great vision, and, you know, with our great leadership from Dr. Wolf, you know, we just have such a talented team that comes together to diligently work on the promises that we made to the voters of San Bernardino. In fact, just recently, you know, I was talking about the fact that we had finished Tippecanoe Avenue interchange from environmental through our extended maintenance on the landscaping. And so I started looking at some of the numbers, and what I learned is that $54 million project was funded 77% by state and federal funds. And so the Measure I that was needed was 14% of that total project cost, you know, and the remaining was locals. But talk about stretching that measure dollar, that was rather significant on that project. And so there is only one way that we can do that beyond having the measure, and that's by having talented staff who strategize on how these funding plans, you know, are created. And, you know, it's something that baffles me, because not only are they looking at the different colors of funding, but they're also looking at the fiscal years, and some are fiscal years that are traditional and some are federal fiscal years, and they just work their magic. And so with that, I have to tell you, you know, Michelle is part of that group. And Michelle, in order to do this, I know she works late nights, and I know she works weekends. And I don't know how she has time to play with her nearly 1-year-old granddaughter, but somehow she does all of that. And so I'd like to have Michelle share with us the development of the 10-year delivery plan and how it can be useful to others as well.
Thank you, Paula. I'm really excited to be here today, because as you've just heard, we have a lot going on. I want to start by echoing what Paula just said. And it's about doing our part to deliver on the promises we've made to the voters of San Bernardino County, because truly that's what the 10-year delivery plan is all about. The 10-year delivery plan gives us a list of projects that'll be developed over the next decade. It describes the projects, it describes the scope, the schedules, the project budgets. But before I get too far down that road, I just wanted to back up a little bit. In November 2004, the San Bernardino County voters approved the 30-year extension of the Measure I half-cent sales tax. It went from 2010 to 2040. The ordinance describes the geographic areas of the county. We call them sub-areas, and all the revenues collected in those sub-areas are returned for projects that benefit that sub-area. So the ordinance included an expenditure plan. It laid out a specific program of projects by sub-area. And then the SBCTA board adopted a strategic plan to act as the official guide to deliver those Measure I programs. And that's kind of where the 10-year delivery plan comes in. One of the key requirements of the strategic plan is the preparation of the 10-year delivery plan. Now, we see the 10-year delivery plan, we see it as a living document. We update it every 2 years, approximately. We do that in order to capture changes in revenues, projects, and really to just keep the plan current, so we know we have the money to meet our upcoming projects. It's quite an undertaking to get projects to where they are in this process. I mean, behind the scenes, we're constantly working to deliver the projects laid out in the delivery plan, but when we update the plan, we take a fresh look at all the numbers, all the data. We start by analyzing revenue projections, and not just Measure I revenue, but like Paula said, what we think will be available for state and federal funds, the local contributions, and then what we're looking at that will be our grant strategies that we've been very successful on. Then we work with our project delivery teams, the local agencies. We take a really good look at project estimates and we look at all the projects. We keep an eye on what's happening in construction so we can include cost escalation and inflation factors. And then once we agree on the revenue projections and the project costs, we run all that data through some sophisticated programs that help us manage the data. We test multiple timing and funding scenarios. We ensure that the right funding is available when it's needed. And since SBCTA uses bonding to get projects out on the street ahead of when funding will be available, now one of the sophisticated programs that we use is called it's a bond model. It looks at the whole picture. It analyzes interest, debt service, ensures adequate coverage to meet SBCTA's coverage policy, and it helps us get a good bond rating. So among other things, when we talk about how projects get to where they are, the 10-year delivery plan establishes a common understanding among the SBCTA board members, staff, member agencies, and the citizens of San Bernardino County. It really serves as SBCTA's commitment to fund specific projects. I hope that information was helpful.
Well, thank you, Michelle. I kind of want to open it up to the panel members. Are any of you, can any of you let us know, let the group know how you use the 10-year delivery plan to help you deliver your projects?
Well, I can speak for project delivery here that it's a great resource for quick reference, looking ahead at future projects. And whenever you have a question that's not right at the tip of your tongue, you can go to the 10-year delivery plan and there's the answer. So I use it as a quick reference regularly.
Yeah, we use it all the time in transit and rail. I mean, looking at what the fund source is and what a specific phase is and what that means for our reporting requirements, what it means when we're trying to cobble together different funds so that we're in a position to seek outside funding, in a more aggressive manner. Another piece to the 10-year delivery plan that Fund Administration has done a great job with is projecting. It's in the background for many of us on the 10-year delivery plan, but it's the projection out of our operating and maintenance needs, which have a big impact on what funds are available and really constrain how much we can build, because we need to make sure that we can actually afford to operate it before we build it. And so they do a fantastic job of capturing that. And so, like, if you look at Redlands Rail or West Valley Connector, you're going to see an operating expected funding and expenditure in there. And that helps us. And every time we shift a little, right, because we hardly ever deliver precisely at the time we expected to, all those numbers need to be updated to reflect that operating either being pushed out a year or whatever the situation might be. So, and then I use it as a tool to communicate with some of our partners if we're providing funding to another project. I constantly point them back to this is your funding that's planned, and this is the schedule of which we expect it to be available.
And that's a good point. This document is a living document, and which is why it's approved every 2 years, because we do have changes, and quite frankly, there have been times, and I think many of you are aware, where I've had to seek additional funds on projects. And so I asked Fund Administration, if there was any capacity. And it's because we keep our costs updated, we know where our funds can move, or they know where funds can move. I just beg for the money and they give it to me, and they make it look easy. So, just really, have to thank Fund Administration, Michelle, all of your hard work, because that's really what keeps us moving. And so now that we've heard about, our projects, our delivery, and, the tools that we use to help deliver, I'd like to talk a little bit about process. One of the important elements is, how do we approach these projects? How do we approach, the board, the public, and the communities. And with that, it brings in the topic of equity. Equity is very important topic now, but it has been a topic that we've discussed basically because of the history of our area and how there have been some inequitable decisions made in our transportation forum. And so, we've worked hard to correct that. And, the biggest proof of that is the I-215 through San Bernardino, where we provided on and off ramps and over crossings to both sides of the freeway, not just one side of the community. So, SBCTA has looked at this for many years. And with that, I'd like to, let you know that we continue to look at, how our projects affect communities and the larger picture of having communities not unjustly overburdened. And so that's an approach that is very, very important to staff. And with that, as well, we look at the accessibility to our procurements, so that we can keep our communities working, and helping us deliver, these much needed projects. And so with that, the importance of not only SBCTA, but SBCOG, I'd like to introduce Monique, who manages to lead this conversation between certain board members that are on ad hoc and staff, and all the while canvassing 2 toddlers. So Monique, can you speak to us about equity?
Sure. Well, thank you for the question. Good morning, everybody. So as Paula alluded to, equity has really become a huge topic of conversation across multiple sectors since the civil unrest that we saw last year. As you probably know, the County of San Bernardino declared racism a public health crisis, and that declaration really prompted our board members to begin to ask really hard questions. So in moving in that direction, the board initiated an equity ad hoc committee, which provides direction on work being done in this space, specifically of equity, both internally and externally among our member agencies. So that includes every city in the county and the 5 county supervisor districts. So the ad hoc is made up of 2 board members from each sub-region and 1 county supervisor. I was going to say Super Bowl, I'm thinking of football. Apologies. So my role as the ad hoc, my role is to help the ad hoc determine what those hard questions are and to work with them, through them, with the leadership team at SBCTA and SBCOG to address any issues that we've identified that can be improved upon. And I think that's probably the most concise way to say that.
Okay. Can you give us any examples of how we are implementing some exercises in equity?
Sure. So we have been given direction, and actually we're pretty excited. The board of directors just approved a regional equity study. And the goal of this study is to identify barriers to equity within the built environment in disadvantaged communities across the county, and then ultimately to work with the local agencies wherein these disadvantaged communities exist to identify ways to address what those barriers are. So it could be anything from access to transportation, access to open space, childcare needs, and I mean, ultimately, the very smallest things that we take for granted, like access to grocery stores. So really kind of identifying what those issues are and seeing how we as a transportation planning agency can help local agencies address these issues. Another effort that the board approved that we're working on is an application for an outdoor leadership program in the heart of one of the most impoverished parts of the city of San Bernardino. The goal is to identify at-risk youth at one of the high schools in San Bernardino and enroll them into this program that gives them a look at options outside of activities that they may be involved in currently. And then the board has also directed us to improve our procurement process to assist small businesses in their efforts to win contracts. We're really excited about that. That's working with Jeff and his team in the procurement group. So, I mean, those are just 3 areas that we're really hoping they're really gonna make a difference in the next few years in our little area of San Bernardino. So, Paula?
Oh, thank you, Monique. And actually, I guess that's a perfect segue to the next conversation, and that is procurement. Procurement opportunities, and as I had mentioned, we'd like those to be accessible. And so with that, I'd like to turn to Jeffrey and ask Jeffrey, how is it, that we are heading in this direction? And can you help us understand, possibly, specifically the equity factor in our choices, in our procurement activities and actions? And how is it that you manage, the changes that you've made to procurement while being a single dad of a little girl?
Well, thank you, Paula. And Monique's right. We've been working closely together recently with the ad hoc committee on trying to come up with some more specific ways to help the smaller businesses get more work. But even before that, starting 7, 8 years ago, we started the B2B event specifically for the small businesses. We recognize that our projects are large. We do $1 million, $100 million contracts, $30 million interchanges all the time. And those small firms have a hard time working directly for us. So we recognize that, well, to help small businesses, we have to help try and put them in connection with the larger primes that work with us often. So that's how we created the B2B event. It was really to focus the small guy having an opportunity to meet multiple primes in a focused conversation area to where they can make those connections. And it's been successful. As our board president mentioned, tens of millions of dollars have resulted from connections made at that event. We've always encouraged small businesses and DBE firms to reach out, and I try and help them out as much as we can. When we do all procurements as well, we also offer debriefs. So if a small firm does submit on a proposal and they don't win, I encourage them to come in for debriefs, because I'm able to work with them and talk through the stuff that they did right, stuff they did wrong. And I give them other general tips and hints. And there have been several firms that are smaller firms that I've seen over the years come in, start off very low in the ranking, and they come in for debriefs, and I see them rise, and then they finally make it to an interview, and they don't do too well in the interview, but they still come in and they put that effort in, and they now are priming projects with us. So trying to have that focus there to help those guys that don't have the experience or may not go on many interviews, and to give them direct feedback has been very beneficial to them. And I look forward to what comes out of the ad hoc committee and the work Monique's doing to where we can add more things in to try and make it even better for our small firms. But just procurement in general, my big focus has always been on being fair, open, and transparent. Our processes are out there. Our vendors know what to look for. As soon as stuff is, fully approved, we're even getting them up posted on our website now, to where you can go look at the score sheets and look at the other proposals. So you can help learn, the small businesses can learn from what the firms that are winning are doing to help incorporate into their proposals, whether with us or with other agencies as well. So if they can't work for us, I'm more than happy to help them learn how to work with other agencies.
Jeffrey, to follow up on that, our procurement practices have changed since you've started at SBCTA. And I know that you've actually gone to externals for input. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, we've done several different things. We've met with, prime firms. I've attended other conferences. I try and learn as much as I can. Even in debriefs, I'll ask the firm, hey, what did you like about our process? What didn't you like about it? And I try and incorporate the stuff where I can. There's some things I can't change, or there's reasons why we have to do it a certain way. But it's an evolving process, and getting as much information I can is helpful to keep us going forward. I want SBCTA to be the place where vendors want to work. I get joy when I have vendors call me and say, hey, can you talk to this other agency and tell them how you're doing things, because they like what we're doing. So I think we're going in the right direction, and I think we have a good reputation now to where we are a very transparent, open, and competitive place to submit proposals to.
That's right. And, Jeffrey is not sharing, the fact that there are other agencies that actually call upon him to give advice, to help them with their procurements, especially going through the state and federal requirements of procurement. So Jeffrey works really hard. Carrie and Henry, what I'd like to do is ask both of you is what advice do you offer, for firms, who want to be successful in their submittals, proposals? What are you looking for?
Well, I'll take it first. So what I'm looking for is someone that can, a company that can demonstrate that they're stewards of the public funds. And they've had projects, they've kept their projects on budget, both their management budgets and the construction budgets. We're also looking for the proposals that can demonstrate the knowledge that Caltrans has provided in their local assistance manuals to make sure that we build these things per the Caltrans requirements. And that takes a lot of preparation on these management firms to be able to show that knowledge.
I would add, I mean, definitely solid stewards of the public dollar is extremely important. We know these are long projects. They take a lot of effort and work. So just coming in with that attitude is extremely important. And kind of at the core of one of our principles of how we go about delivering our projects and doing our business. The other thing I would add is solid history of problem solving, and then within the proposals, some demonstration of willingness to solve the problems. Many times we see issues brought up during the proposal process. It stands out to me when you see teams that come forward with some possible solutions.
Very good. Very good. That's good advice. Yeah, when I was on panels, I felt the same way. I felt that in real life, our projects do have problems that are difficult, and some are very rare problems. And hearing solutions really points to the fact that this firm, has the experience, knowledge, and the will, to try to maintain your schedule and cost, and do so in a way that's acceptable, to whether it be a regulatory agency or our agency itself. So yeah, those are very good, sound pieces of advice. And with that, I think we have concluded our topics for the panelists. But I just wanted to kind of summarize the fact that, we do have, much work going on and coming up, and we ask you to keep us in mind. One of the things that I don't think our board members know is the fact that many of you, while you may have paychecks, from other firms, you really are supporting SBCTA. And so while they know about the 70 or so employees that we have on board, I don't think they know the vast array of people who help us with our projects. And so, if you would put your camera on, I would invite you to wave your hand. Oops, I got to find my hand here. If any of you have helped us on SBCTA projects, so we can kind of scroll through and see the magnitude of a team that's required for a program. Yep, I'm scrolling through, I'm seeing lots of hands, but oh, no cameras on here on this page. Yeah, so it's the vast majority of you that have helped us, so we do have board members that are in attendance, and they can see, that they actually have a lot more people here to support them in their vision than they know. And so thank you for bearing with me through this exercise, but you truly are an extension of SBCTA. And so with that, I'd like to invite, I'd like to acknowledge the board members who are in attendance. We do have Art Bishop. Can you say hello, Art?
Our team may need to unmute him.
Oh, okay. Do you want to unmute the board members? We have Alan Wapner.
Good morning, I am here.
Oh, there we go. There's board member Bishop.
Well, good morning from Apple Valley and Art Bishop. I just want to take this opportunity real quick to thank the staff. The program I've seen so far is just outstanding. I've actually learned a lot even as a board member. So thank you much to Dr. Wolf and all the staff, and continue with all the best. And by the way, happy Halloween.
Thank you. And Alan Wapner, our board member.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody. I just want to take this opportunity to thank all my colleagues on the board. It's always a pleasure to work with them. What I really appreciate with everybody on the board is we all think about the county as a whole, not about parochialism in our own cities. And because of that, we're able to get a lot of projects through. And I personally want to thank my colleagues for their support of the airport and the transit options to get to the airport. Obviously, the airport is a huge economic generator for the entire county. Got to say thanks to our staff. We're the best. Dr. Wolf, congratulations to you and to the rest of your staff. And really, that's it. I appreciate the leadership of President Hagman and of all those that are also serving in leadership roles.
Thank you. How about board member Navarro?
Yes, good morning, everybody. Just to say thanks to Paula for being the moderator today and moving this so efficiently, and to the staff members for all the work that you do. Mr. Wolf, I can say nothing but congratulations on your team. Your team, without your leadership, has grown to be what I believe is the most efficient, the most proactive, and the team that works with a passion to accomplish that which the taxpayers of our county are paying for. I look forward to continuing working with them and being part of this leadership at SBCTA. And remember, at SBCTA, we plan, we build, and you move. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. How about board member Warren?
She may have logged off.
Oh, okay. Okay. What about board member Valdivia?
I think he also logged off. We do have Mr. Courtney from Barstow on the line.
All right.
Well,
Hi.
good morning. Good morning to all of you, all the happy faces on the screen. Hey, I am definitely honored to be a part of this today. When I heard Barstow mentioned in the very first part of this this presentation, I got excited. I thought, oh my goodness, Dr. Wolf continues to keep his promise for all of us here out here in Barstow, because oftentimes people think Barstow's in Nevada. No, we're actually in the high desert, just past Rickettville. But yes, I'd say Dr. Wolf and the team, definitely thank you for keeping Barstow at the forefront. And we are really excited about our First Street Bridge. Actually, our residents seeing activity around the bridge, because as we all know, especially if you toured out here, Barstow, we really only have one bridge that goes through town. It's the First Street, and it goes over the Biddenhoff Railroad. And there are some safety concerns. And so just getting it completed, and we're talking about an economic generator and et cetera, et cetera. The train comes right through Barstow. And if that bridge was to have a catastrophic collapse or something of that nature, it would actually stop all the freight that goes through all the cities of all the individuals who are on the screen, and then some, because it's a major corridor for the railroad. So definitely, Dr. Wolf, you and your staff, thank you from we call it the crossroads of opportunity, the heart of the high desert. Now, Archbishop, I know you're listening, okay? We know things are nice in Apple Valley, but thank you for giving us some love over here in Barstow. And that also goes for the mayor of Victorville, Ms. Jones and Hesperia, Cameron, and of course, Adelanto, Gabriel Reyes, and the rest of them. So thank you for putting this on, and I'm just excited. I'm still sitting here smiling because you mentioned Barstow in the beginning. Thank you.
Paula, Mayor Warren was able to return.
Oh, there's Mayor Warren. She's always happy too. Hey, how you doing, dear?
Fine. How are you, sir? Man, you sound pretty presidential there.
Hey, let me tell you, up in Barstow, I feel presidential too. Hey, at least today. Today.
Oh my goodness.
Board Member Warren, would you like to address the group?
Oh, absolutely. I just got to tell you, working with other cities in our region, I just think we've done so much together. You know, we have a saying here, Fontana together. Well, I got a new one, region together. San Bernardino County region together. So, okay, there's the hashtag, everybody, get over yourself. Now, as you all know, and I'm, Congressman or now Supervisor Paul Cook completely, we can't even say hi without him bringing it up because, you know, he was from Yucca Valley, and I'm just so sorry about that. But the thing is, we were able to get 4 interchanges, and it was because we were deemed the goods movement capital. And just think what would have happened when you look at the port situation, if we had not had that vision. And we work closely with SBTA and all your great staff there. And you all have just been amazing to work with. And so now we get to fight that fight to get those containers out of Los Angeles, Long Beach, and get them in these warehouses to get the products to our citizens. And we also are working very hard to be more environmentally friendly. We've got so many initiatives toward that effort. And so we'll continue to work with your great agency. But what's more important is how much the staff at SBTA has shown me personally, how much you care about our community and our residents and want their input. So, you know, I got to give it to Tim and all of you and my great friend out there, Paula, and everybody. And, you know, wait a minute, I forgot somebody. Who did I forget from SBTA that used to be at the Speedway? Oh, Otis. I did that on purpose, Otis, just to mess with you. Today is Halloween around here. Today is Halloween, and I decided to dress up like the mayor of Fontana. And I think my costume should win a prize. I really do. But thanks so much for all the great things that you're doing out there. And in the future, I've walked on every new freeway before they open it. So when we do the express lanes, I want to walk on the lane without getting hit. So let's have a party when we get that project completed, okay? That's my wish. So everybody have a great day. And as I call him, Raymond Wolf, Dr. Raymond Wolf, you know we love you, but you're Ray to me. So anyway, I will see you all later, and I look forward to our future because it is extremely bright in this county.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I believe that's all of the board members we have. Did I miss anyone?
I think that's it, Paula.
Okay, thank you,
And
Tim.
we are up against the clock, Paula, so I would just want to let the audience know that questions that we received will be noted and provided in an email form back to those who registered. So at this time, Paula, if you want to, you and Dr. Wolf want to close out, I think we're at the time to do that.
Okay, all right. Well, that went fast. You know, usually I keep things moving pretty quick and I don't have very many words to say, but my goodness, being on the camera must have changed me. Or maybe it was my Wonder Woman day yesterday. Anyways, yeah, so in closing, you know, we thank, you know, our board members for their vision and Dr. Wolf for his leadership, and the family, you know, the SBCTA family and all of our friends, you know, are here to support us. You know, don't forget about us. We want to be, you know, your client of choice. So please, you know, track us. And in the meanwhile, I would turn to Dr. Wolf to see if you have closing remarks before I talk to Board Member Hagman.
Yes, Paula, just briefly, last year's event, we kind of had a call to action and talking about some of the things that we needed support from the private sector to assist us in trying to deliver our important projects. And one of the things, if you had the opportunity to participate at Mobility 21 and saw the housing and transportation panel, you probably saw a little bit of sparring between myself and Chair Friedman over the concern that I raised of the state's approach of one size fits all. The state of California right now is focused solely on active transportation projects and increasing transit opportunities. And they're both important, right? I don't disagree with that, but we have to continue to grow, to increase the capacity strategically here in San Bernardino County of the highway network. We heard Aquanetta talking about the interchanges and the importance of goods movement in our county, and having those interchanges as that flow of goods continues to grow exponentially year over year, right? But right now we're struggling with the state even allowing us to widen any more freeways, and that's not going to work. And so that's an issue that I would ask that you continue to pay attention to. It's something that we're going to have to continue, and we as an agency can only carry the message so far. Industry really has to step up and start to lean on the administration to say, one size does not fit all. Your goals are aspirational and important to the future of the state of California, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we can continue to strategically grow the capacity that's necessary to keep local economies moving, to not further burden disadvantaged communities, which inland California has a very large percentage of throughout the state. So that this is just the important message that I would ask that you take away, in addition to all of the other things that the panelists said, but this is just sort of a call to action as we look to this next year and years beyond. Thank you, Paula.
Thanks, Ray. Well, as mentioned in his intro, Mr. Hagman serves many roles in our county. Unfortunately, he had to step off, but on his behalf, we at SBCTA and SBCOG want to thank you for joining us today.
And that will wrap up our State of Transportation. Thank you, everyone. A lot of you have asked about the information that Henry and Carrie shared. We will summarize that and get that sent out to the group. But on behalf of everyone, drive safely if you're driving, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for joining us.